Father is showing signs of dementia and will be homeless soon. He has Social Security and Medicare. What the heck do we do? So, without the backstory, here is the situation. Father in his early 70s in San Diego, California. He collects approximately 3K per month in Social Security and has Medicare. No savings or any other money. Unfortunately, he's fallen into a situation where he will be homeless in a few weeks. He just spent the past few days in a hospital after a fall. No one in our family can/will contribute financially on an ongoing basis. What's our best option to get him some care, help within his own means? Open to anything, including moving him to other states. One, this is kind of messed up on so many different situations where you have a whole family not willing to help out a father of the family. That seems kind of weird. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that seems pretty odd to me. But the best way to really help someone in this situation is to move them basically with you, like into your own place. If you have a house, maybe into a room or something, just to create some sort of normalcy. But also, it keeps his expenses the same. And you could get basically a power of attorney so that you can basically manage the $3,000 coming in so that you can use it to pay for his care. Because you probably could with 3K per month if he has no housing costs or anything like that. He's living with you. Now, I do say, like, yeah, they can't help them financially or won't help them financially. You don't have to necessarily, but if you're able to at very least provide like a room for him to stay in, that can make things a lot easier for everyone involved. You also know that he's actually safe in one area. That's what I would do. In this situation, I would move the father into a room, try to get a power attorney so that you can manage the $3,000 coming in so that you can basically protect him from himself. Because when they have dementia, that's a very big issue. Like, sometimes they may not even know where they are or who you are, etc. Like, that's a very big situation. And really, you should technically put them at that point, if they're dealing with dementia, probably in a nursing home, or at the very least, have a nurse come to your place to check up on them, like a professional to check up on them. But that's what I would do. Let's see some of these comments to get their perspective. Let's see. Talk to the case manager and social worker at the hospital. Is he going to rehab? They can evaluate him as well. Just having dementia will not qualify him for Medicaid to cover long term in the nursing home, but you can look into places that provide care in exchange for his Social Security check. I would say supplemented housing for seniors, but that would depend on how advanced his dementia is, and there will most likely be a waiting list for those, but is another option and something to look into. Let's see. The hospital provided some resources, but so far they have not been helpful given his limited finances. I also looked at supplemented housing, but it's still outside of his budget. Yeah, supplemented housing, like, that's some pretty expensive stuff. He needs a Medicaid sponsored care home if you don't think he can live on his own. Is he eligible for any veterans benefits? His Social Security benefit is higher than the average person his age. If he's in San Diego, there's housing for seniors with medical conditions. I have friends who live there and they get great care. I guess it's the wakelandhdc.com. Interesting. Also, go to the San Diego Housing Commission. There's a link in the link I posted. They have several new and currently being built apartments for seniors. Rent is based off their income. Can you move him to a low cost of living state that doesn't tax Social Security and exchange his Social Security check for care? I don't know if this is realistic, just the first thing that came to mind. Can you refuse to pick him up from the hospital and tell them they need to find him a bed in a care facility? That's how my mom ended up getting my grandmother into assisted living. My grandmother needed surgery that required an overnight stay, and my mom used that as an opportunity to force her into care. Interesting. Unfortunately, too late for that, the hospital paid for a cab for him to go back to the place he was staying temporarily. He cannot stay there for much longer. Interesting. Let's see, just put mine in memory care. It's $2,500 per month for a studio style layout and professional nursing services just outside San Diego. After 2 years, Medicare will kick in. It's easily doable. You should be talking with a social worker to find some place for him and make sure they review his entire financial history because he's already getting more than the average person on Social Security. So he's had some assets at some point and might have something like a life insurance policy that can be sold while in the Medicare waiting period. Thank you. He's always been middle class. Unfortunately, he did not save enough, never bought a house, and burned through what he did have. So here's actually a good reason to even just like talk about this kind of like post really, other than the fact that it's kind of good to understand like the importance of long-term care insurance and all that kind of stuff. This is the reason why you need to understand your finances at the bare minimum to where you can take care of yourself when you're older, financially speaking, right? Because here's the thing, if you simply spend less than what you make, save money for an emergency fund, put money consistently towards investments, and try to either buy yourself a condo or home, financially speaking, when it comes down to retirement, you're going to be okay. If something were to happen like this, where you start to lose your memory, financially speaking, you're going to be okay. Like, this is why you should do like the bare minimum stuff at least for your finances. Get out of debt, create an emergency fund, start putting money towards investments. If you want to buy a house, do it. If not, that's fine. Put more money towards investments. And as time gets as time increases, as time goes on, as you get older, put more money towards long-term care insurance, like when you get to that point, which is about 55, 60 years old is about the time you should kind of like look for that. You should always have good health insurance. Life insurance is really only needed if someone relies on your money, like a partner or a kid or someone that you take care of. Other than that, there's really no need for life insurance. Health insurance, you pretty much always have to have. And then just consistently put money towards your investments to the point where you just never have to think about it. And it's very simple. Like you will live a good, healthy financial life without really doing much of anything. Something to think about. Let's see. Okay, so has he actually been diagnosed with dementia or cognitive mental decline? An official diagnosis may be key to finding accommodations. Not yet. His decline is rapid, though. He no longer knows the year, that he no longer lives in a particular home, and that he and my mother are separated. Now, this person says basically what I said too, right? Get power of attorney and documents signed now if you can. Healthcare, but more importantly, right now, financial, and sometimes those documents aren't enough. Like for the IRS, and you'll need to do more, make sure the POA documents have his address and social security number, as well as the POA's info as well. It'll make it More likely places would accept it without having to fill out their forms. You might be able to refuse to pick him up from the hospital, say there's no safe place for him to go. We didn't have to do that, but it crossed our minds. When applying for Medicaid, I think almost every state has a look back period. Illinois is 5 years, so we have to gather and explain 5 years worth of financial documents. That's been so difficult. For example, the bank only provides checks for the last 18 months and there are closed bank accounts. And he never filed his taxes, etc., etc., etc. And then we had someone helping him last year, and now are trying to figure out the taxes involved with that. As others have said, start with the social worker assigned to his case at the hospital. Early 70s is tough. I'm assuming he's mobile and good on ADLs. Oof. And this person says contact 211 San Diego. Anderson, feel free to give your thoughts on this if you stumble upon it. If you have like a family member that has had to deal with this, feel free to give your thoughts. It's just the way that I would go about it if I was in this situation and if I could not necessarily contribute financially to the situation. What I would do is try to move my father in this situation into a room at my place at the very least, or to the bed, or what, like to like a couch, like minimum, just have them in like a safe location that I am close to, that I can monitor and help out with my time, not necessarily finances, but with my time. Try to get the the power of attorney documents so that I could basically manage the Social Security amount so that I could use that money to directly provide for him and his care. Like any sort of care that he needs. Could be hiring a nurse to come to the house to help him out, right? That's what I would do. Because when it comes down to it, it might be ideal to try to find something that is like our pros when it comes to dealing with people with dementia or any other sort of mental situation. The problem is, if this is going to happen very quickly where he's going to be homeless, I'm going to do everything I can as fast as I can to get him into a safe place that I know that he's in a safe place and that I could take care of him. After that, then we could try to do something a little bit more worthwhile, long term, something that would actually be way better for him and also me and everyone involved for like quality of life type of stuff. But for the immediate solution, that's what I would do.